Guys, welcome back. Today we're going to continue talking about problems and solutions, and we're going to especially connect it to um, the main parts of the story. So yesterday you learned that the problem or conflict, sometimes it's called, is really the heart of the story. Every story is important because of what problems and solutions are in that story. So anytime you're reading something, always be asking yourself, what's the big problem? And what are the mini problems that happen along the way? All right. So don't forget, problems and solutions are usually here at the heart of the story. That's super, super important. But as we start talking about those problems and solutions, oops, we need to be thinking about how they connect to things because our stories become really important when they connect to other things. So we're going to think about how it connects to the plot. Remember, those are the events of the story and how they happen in order. We're also going to think about how it connects to characters, and I even added setting. Characters are more important than setting, but setting is in there. The last thing we're going to think about is how is the author using the problems and solutions to teach us something? This is the sign for teach. So when we've got a problem and a solution, you're always going to connect them to the plot, to the characters and setting, and to the author. Well, let me give you a solution. I like to use the what's your problem solution or problem strategy. So the what's your problem strategy says that when I am working through a text, I need to figure out what's the problem, and when I find it, what's the solution? And then ask, how does that connect to the story? Is that helping me learn about the setting? Is it helping me learn about characters, or is it helping me learn about the plot? Let's take, for example, the story you watched yesterday called Lou. And one of the problems is that the boy is taking everyone's stuff. But I didn't answer, what's the solution? Stop and think for a minute. We know the boy was taking everyone's stuff. How did that problem get solved? I remember. The problem got solved. All right, solution. The problem got solved when the boy gave everything back. If you remember, he gave everything back and then he found his stolen toy that mean kid took from him so long ago. So the problem was that boy was taking everyone's stuff, and the solution was that he gave everything back. So let's think, how does that tie into the plot? Well, that's the main event of the story, right? I'm going to write that here, main event. The fact that the boy was taking everyone's stuff was the problem, and the rising action was him having to do all this work to give all the toys back so that he could get his backpack back. And he's given it back even though he doesn't want to. And you can see as he's giving it back, the story's getting more interesting. And that big solution moment is when he gets his special toy back. So that's the main event in the plot. Okay, well, that problem and solution was pretty important to the plot. Let's talk characters. Did it make a character change or show who they really are? Ooh, stop and think for a second. Did the problem of the boy taking everyone's stuff and the solution of him giving it back show or change the characters? Yeah, it showed why he was so mean. We learned he wasn't just a mean kid for no reason. He was mean because others had been mean to him. So it showed why he was mean. We call that motivation. Showed why he was mean. Okay. So now let's connect it to the author. And when we're thinking about the author, we're thinking, what does the author want me to learn? Well, if the problem was the boy was taking everyone's stuff and the solution was he gave everything back, maybe the author wants us to know people can change. Does the story show people changing? It does. I think the author also wanted me to know sometimes people hurt others because they were hurt. So the author is teaching me maybe to forgive. I'm going to say the author is showing me to forgive. So I can look at this story and say the problem and the solution are connected to the plot. It was the big idea of the story. The problem and solution were connected to the characters. It showed why he was so mean. And the problem and solution were connected through the author because now I see the author wants me to see why he was mean and to understand we can forgive people. You can use this same strategy. Let's see if I can get my eraser to show up. Nope. You can use the same strategy on any story that you're working on. So like, for example, if you are reading Hatchet, every chapter kind of has its own problem. So think back to the chapter where he was trying to find something to eat, and he ate the gut cherries. We can think about that as the problem. Let me get a different color so it stands out. I'm going to write gut cherries here. So in that chapter, the problem was he ate the gut cherries, and the solution was to eat less of them, right? He could not eat them all together because he didn't have anything better, but he had to slow down and eat less. How does that tie into the plot? Well, that's the main idea of that story. It's also part of the bigger story because it shows me how desperate he is for food and how he's got to learn to survive. So for the plot, I can say learn to survive. This is all part of his learning to survive. Okay, let me think about the characters. Does that show me anything about the characters? Well, the fact that he ate all those gut cherries showed that he was desperate. But the fact that his solution of eating less shows me that he has self-control and he was really thinking about solutions. So I'm going to say that showed me that he was a thinker. He's a smart guy. I might write smart. I might have just been like, well, I guess those are poison. I'm moving on. He had the smartness to go, I can still eat those, but I've got to eat a lot less. And then I'm going to ask myself, what's the author trying to teach me? Well, the author showed that if he ate a lot of them, he got sick, but he had to eat them. There wasn't really a right or a wrong answer. Felt kind of like sometimes in life there aren't good answers. I feel like the author was showing me sometimes in life we have no good answers. Sometimes you just have to pick the least problematic one. Sorry, my writing is so messy. So I can use this plot, characters and setting, and author strategy to help me work through the problem and the solution. And if you'll notice, this plot, characters, author is just the visualize and then the PCA we've been talking about in group. This is the strategy that we're going to be using. So I'm going to challenge you. How are the problems in this week's story connected? Now, I know we're reading The Lucky Cloak. As we are going through The Lucky Cloak, let's take the time to ask ourselves, what's the problem? What's the solution? What is this revealing about the plot, about the characters and setting, and about the author's message? This is my challenge for you this week.